Welcome to Lohitaksha's Den. Today, we have a truly enlightening episode as we delve into the fascinating world of mastering manifestation. Our guest is an expert in the realms of reality transversing and the real law of attraction, sharing unique insights on how to materialize your dreams, desires, and shape your reality. Get ready for a mind expanding conversation that may challenge your beliefs and open new doors to conscious creation. Without further ado, let's welcome Maria to the show. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate the invitation, and this is a very important topic. And I really, I appreciate that you reached out to me because that article was actually very painful for me to write,
Hmm.
because it was absolutely the complete antithesis of what I had envisioned and intended in terms of my experience of finally learning how to ski at age 63, so it was a very disturbing and very hurtful experience, not only mentally, emotionally, but also physically, because I was immobilized for over 3.5 months.
Hmm.
And, started to drive again in May. And this event happened in January. So, that's a long set of time. So it gave me a lot of time to rethink and ruminate. And so going through the sort of ups and downs of emotion and shame and blaming myself and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Could you start by giving our listeners a brief overview of reality transurfing and the real law of attraction? How do
Sure.
these approaches differ from traditional manifestation practices?
Yeah. So reality transurfing is it's a viewpoint. I call it a viewpoint
Hmm.
that was brought forth by a Russian physicist named Vadim Zeland. And and he had undergone some incredible hardships and transformation, and looked into sort of mindsets. And from what I understood, he was able to turn things around and started receiving this information and started basically writing it out in long form that became reality transurfing. And it really is about sort of quantum leaping, quantum jumping your way of viewing the universe in a way that puts you as the star of your movie, so to speak. And it's funny because when I was introduced to transurfing, this was in 2005, I'd already been working with Neville Goddard's material, which I read when I was a teenager. And even before I was a teenager, as a little girl, when I was growing up, I had a very abusive upbringing with a very violent mother and no father. And so I used to pretend that I was a fairy. And that was my way of escaping my violent reality. And, you could call it dissociation if you want, whatever, I don't care. But it worked for me because it allowed me to see the magic of life rather than getting caught up and focused in on the horror that I was actually living. So getting back to transurfing, Vadim figured all this out. And so he wrote these books, and there are many, many, many books that have been translated from Russian to Arabic to Italian to English. The version that I read was in German, and
Hmm.
it was just kind of mind blowing because it was like, oh, I know this already.
Hmm.
So it's nothing new. It's not like Vadim discovered something new. It's that he was able to reformulate it in a way that was really endeavoring to include technology our technological advancements at that time in, say, the 2000s, and to be able to view the universe from a very technogenic way, where you can utilize, say, what he calls pendulums, which are like egregores. I don't know if you're familiar with the term egregore, or a matrix system reality that has a lot of people believing in it, like believing in divide and conquer. Okay, so Vadim figured out these ways where we could utilize these systems of reality within the matrix, okay, and be able to hop onto them, the momentum, and utilize them for our own benefit. And so one example that I could give immediately is that of social media. And there's a lot of people that poo-poo social media and say that it is the devil, it's evil, on and on and on. But I say for myself, because I have been online since 2003, or actually my first website was in 1994. But in 2003, when I started teaching online, there were all these uprising, up and coming social media platforms. Facebook came up in 2007. You could utilize the momentum of these social media platforms and utilize them to your advantage. And I think what Vadim was basically looking for was a way to take advantage of any situation, even a shit situation, excuse my language, but to be able to utilize that and seek the advantage of it. And I think that is one of the most important for me in terms of reality creation and in terms of law of attraction. I think that is one of the most important highlights that people really need to get on board with, because a lot of the times when people work with the law of attraction or work with reality transurfing or intention, Neville Goddard's work, that if you intend something and it doesn't work, there must be something wrong with you. And so the spiral down and the identification with failure, the identification with viewing reality, that what you see out here, okay, the aggregate reality is all your fault, rather than seeing yourself as just a player, and that you can at any moment decide what you are going to put your attention to. And that is basically what Vadim, especially when you really delve into his book, the Tufti, the Priestess books, I highly recommend those. His previous books are fantastic, but this book, Tufti, the Priestess, where he really goes into this beautiful character, this priestess named Tufti, who teaches you reality in terms of being in the matrix versus out of the matrix. And I've talked about this all throughout my career. And one of the most important things in the Tufti teachings, which really points to our true divine natures as spiritually awakened already, so long as we can hold our attention in the center screen. So in the Tufti material, Vadim divides reality into 3 screens of attention. The outer reality, which is everything that we see and experience with our senses, okay? So that outer screen, okay, that's what we witness with our senses. And then the inner screen is all the stuff that goes on in our heads, the ruminating, the mind stuff, the judgments, the criticisms. It is the, I call it the acerbic commentary that goes, and it's usually based on what you're witnessing out here, okay, our natural awakened state. And the outer screen and the inner screen keep you stuck in the matrix, where you have no awareness of who you really are. You are at the effect of the outer screen and the effect of what's going on in your head. You have no control. You're sound asleep. You're a zombie, basically. So the team figured out, and pointing to our natural awakened state, which is the center screen. So when we reside here, we're outside of the matrix because we can witness what's going on in the outer screen, witness what's going on in the inner screen. And from here, we can witness all three attention centers at the same time. When you're here, this is where you create reality. You can't create reality based on what you see out here, because what you see out here is already a done deal. It's past. You can't change it. And what's going on in here is just keeping you locked in, unaware that you have the ability to think critically. You have the ability to up-level your thought quality. Because when we're tripping out in here, based on what's going on here, we're being triggered. We're being triggered. So it's old stuff, it's judgments, it's criticisms. And here's the other important thing in reality creation is that you have to allow others, even if you don't like them, even if you really, want to go off on them, you have to allow them to be exactly as they are, different from you. Okay. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to change the outer reality to conform to what they believe in. But, it doesn't work that way. You can't push up against what you see in the matrix. You have to extricate yourself from the matrix by owning your attention, which is being spiritually awakened, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. None of this new age stuff of specialness. No, we all have this ability to observe reality from our center screen. And from our center screen, we can create whatever we want. Okay. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a vast topic. It's a vast topic. But I think in terms of reality creation, we have to be aware of those three attention centers and exit the matrix and be in our center screen. This is our awakened natural state. Okay. And because it's too easy for the outer screen of reality and what goes on in here when we are at the effect of whatever we're witnessing to have our attention hijacked and to just, allow the outer and inner screen to just take over our lives. And that's not fun. That's not fun, because you're always going to be at the effect of what happens outside of you without tapping into your inner magic, your divine, true creative nature, which we all are, by the way, regardless of religion or belief structures or whatever. Okay. Each one of us is here to create formless into form. And we can only do that outside of the matrix. And if we're stuck in the matrix at the effect of the outer screen and the inner screen, I say, and Vadim says this as well in reality transurfing, then you are just following a script, an automated script of the role that you are playing in the movie of your life in the matrix, in which you are not the director. You are merely what he calls mannequins, just going through the motions. And it is such a fascinating thing, and it's fun. When I teach this with my clients, and I work with survivors of trafficking. And so it's not just about deactivating or de-armoring trauma-based mind control or physical trauma, sexual trauma. It's not just about that. It's also about teaching survivors how to thrive. And the only way they thrive is by up-leveling their ability to think. You have to be able to think properly. And I always go back to the Kabbalion, the Hermetic natural law principles. The first principle, which takes us back to also Neville Goddard's work, that the universe is, the all is mind, the universe is mental. So if you can up-level the way you think, you can immediately change your reality. And so it's an important skill to master. All of us humans, we all need to learn how to do this, because that's the only way. There's over 8 billion people on the planet, and each one of these 8 billion people, we're all creating our own layer of the universe. Okay, so you and I, right now, our universes are intersecting for this podcast. And so the people that are going to be watching, your people, my people, we're all going to be intersecting because of this podcast. And we're creating our own separate layers of the universe. Or we are adhering to the matrix. Okay. Yeah. So as long as we are in our center screen, and this is why it's called a spiritual practice, because I know for me, spiritual awakening is not a one-off event. It's not. It's constant. I constantly catch myself snoozing. I'm driving and all of a sudden I'm going to crash because I'm looking at the scenery. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. We have all done this, or we're watching the news or something on YouTube that is disturbing, and pretty soon, we get sucked into that reality, and we have to pull ourselves out and wake ourselves up. And that's one of my favorite things in Vadim Zeland's work, is that the mantra of catching yourself. Oh, you got to wake yourself up, see reality, exit the matrix, re-enter into our center screen, and from there we can compose reality. So I like to play with it as a game. I think one of the things that one of my superpowers is still being that little fairy little girl that wants to play with reality, because reality is a very moldable. It's very pliable because it is mental. If you can imagine it, you can create it. Right? But this is where our belief structures really start mucking up, I think, the energy of creation. This is where I think a lot of us get into trouble, and I get into trouble with it. And certainly the article of my ski accident was definitely one of those things where I was just knocking my head up against the wall, trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? Because I'm pretty good at manifesting. But what was going on is that I have no control over a ski resort. I have no control over, who's teaching me. I have no control over quite a lot of things. So, the lesson really was how to seek the advantage in things that seemingly go wrong. Because, and that's where the exercise or the strategy of revision comes in reality creation. Okay. Because sometimes life just happens, shit happens, and we have to be able to bounce back and not get identified. So I was saying to myself, I am a failure. I kept saying it in more ways than one, that identification, and it was not a good place to be, because it was lowering my frequency, it was lowering my immune system, it was just bringing me down. And so the exercise of revision is it's deceptively simple, because what you do is you take an event or a conversation that went badly or a relationship breakup, and you rewrite it in detail, how you would have wanted it to be, and what you would have done instead of what actually happened. Okay. And it is a journaling exercise that allows our minds to really focus in on what it is that we really, really want. Okay. And to practice that focused attention of what it is that we really, really want. And when stuff goes wrong, sometimes what we need to do is we need to, in our mind's eye, do things differently and take the win from that revision. And that is what I had to do, because I couldn't accept it, but I had to accept it because that is exactly what happened. And so at the end of this revision, I mean, I had over 9 weeks, 12 weeks to just go over it again and again and again. And it was very, very unpleasant. And I finally got to the my last revision that really worked for me was that as soon as the instructor started to bully me, I put my foot down and just said, the lesson is over. Goodbye. That was it. Instead of allowing myself to be bullied into this reality. Okay. Because that was it. It started immediately when the lesson started, and I should have just ended it, but I didn't. I was caught up in another person's reality, basically.
Yeah.
And it crushed. And that's okay. It's okay. We don't have to beat ourselves up. We can just say, no, thank you. Yeah. So that was my lesson. It was very simple, but it took 2.5, 3 months to figure it out. And once I figured it out, I started feeling better about things. My healing process accelerated, but I was just like really caught up in not just beating myself up, but really identifying with my own failure to have not figured out, and this is erroneous, how to control the universe. You cannot control the universe. You can set the intention of certain things, and there's going to be hidden belief structures that you're going to bump up against. Okay. And one of the things that I kept bumping up against was the whole bully archetype. And that's my own personal thing. So we'll have all these mind glitches that we have to confront and try to seek a kind of advantage for it, because that's one of the strategies in reality transurfing, is seeking advantage. The other thing that's really great about reality transurfing in terms of strategies is making negativity your friend. So that's the other thing, is you seek the advantage of something going wrong, or you look at what's going wrong and you just give it time. You give it time and attention. And once again, for me, I utilize a lot of journaling as a way to kind of get beyond the sort of mind glitches that we get caught up in. And we all do it, and to make friends with it. So to make friends with the negativity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many people associate manifestation with attracting material possessions. How do reality transurfing and the real law of attraction expand beyond material desires and encompass a broader sense of fulfillment and purpose?
Well, I think a lot of people are caught up in the sort of outer reality, particularly material things. Okay. That is for myself, I think it's very shallow. But we do live in, the matrix world has a lot of shallow people in it.
Yeah.
So I think that I think one of the things that we need to be aware of when it comes to materialization, and this is especially true in Vadim Zeland's work in reality transurfing. All you need to do when you want to manifest things, whether it's a relationship, whether it is a business, whether it's a house, a car, money, whatever it is, you have to know what it is you want and
Mm-hmm.
why you want it.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the two important things. What it
Mm.
is that you want and why you want it. And those are your focal points, because the who is involved, where, when, and how it happens, none of your business. And
Mm.
in reality transurfing, that's how it is. You focus on what you want, why you want it. The rest is none of your business.
Okay.
Okay. Because when you make it your business, you're trying to control the universe. And the universe, instead of doing it for you, is going to go, okay, we're going to give it to you. You have a better way of doing it.
Mm.
Fine, go do it. And we get into our own way. Okay. The
Got
way
it.
reality transurfing works is that here we are, we have this is my sector of reality currently, right?
Mm.
So say I'm here,
Mm.
and something that I want to materialize is in this sector that's out of my current sector.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know what it is that I want and why I want it, and it's in this different sector. All
Mm.
right. If I try to control the who, the how, the when, the where, the universe, instead of moving me to that sector, is
Uh-huh.
going to let me try to figure out the chain of events. How do I need, you see what I mean? We get in the way by knowing what it is that we want and why we want it. In reality transurfing, the universe takes you to that sector of reality. It
Yeah.
creates the chain of events
Mm.
necessary without you lifting a finger. And that has been my experience.
Okay.
So in my ski thing, I was very specific about how it was going to go down. And it didn't work out for me. It didn't work out with me. For me, I was very fixated on how it was going to happen.
Mm.
And guess what? I met up with a bully. I met up with the archetype that has been my nemesis for the entirety of my life. So that's another way of looking at revision. You see the flaws in your thinking, in
Mm.
your intention.
Mm.
Okay. So if you get it, if anybody gets anything from this in terms of reality creation and the real law of attraction, you have to know what it is you want, why you want it. The rest is none of your business. You let the universe, you let divine God, goddess, all that is, handle the details.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is show up.
Okay.
Show up for that dot connection, but you're not the one doing it. Okay.
Mm.
And a lot of people come back at me, yeah, but you have to take action. I'm taking action, but it's inspired action. Things show up, and it just magically, it really does. It magically catapults you through the different sectors of the universe to where that reality resides.
Um.
And it's the coolest thing, because
Mhm.
it really is effortless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen unless you understand the first hermetic natural law principle of mentalism,
Mm-hmm.
that the all is mind, the universe is mental. So you have to really, really see it. You have to see what it is, why you want it, get into that feeling place. Okay. So I call it heart, mind, body, soul coordination. So heart, mind, body, soul coordination, you have to be on the same page. In other words, your heart and your mind, your body and soul have to want the same things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your heart wants something, your mind wants something else, we all know it. It's a shit show. It's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't work. There's
Mm.
too many crazy things. It's not congruent. It's not in alignment. It creates chaos, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
What I
sense.
explained? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, For those unfamiliar with the concept of pendulums in reality transurfing, could you explain what they are and how they can impact our manifestation journey?
Yeah. So one of the big pendulums in the matrix is poverty consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to work really, really hard to get what you want. That's a pendulum. Okay, so
Oh.
we'll take that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that pendulum where everybody works very, very hard, and they usually don't get what they want. That's another pendulum.
Yes.
So one of the things that happens is that people believe this. It's a
Mm-hmm.
belief structure. A pendulum is a belief system,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get on it, and it just, the more people are on that pendulum, the stronger the pendulum is, the more it is a reality for people who are not schooled in thinking properly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's basically another pendulum. Another pendulum that people get on is that once an addict, always an addict. Okay, that's another one that people get on. That this identification with addiction
Mm-hmm.
and being an addict, and you can't get off it. And the 12-step programs, I think they're really great programs, but it's a pendulum, and people hop on it, and there's a lot of people on it, and they never get out of their identification with being an addict.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might work for a lot of people. It doesn't work for the people that I know. Nobody wants to identify as an addict. We want to identify as our true divine creative natures,
Mm-hmm.
as infinite loving awareness and consciousness, having a human experience here to move formless into form.
Mm-hmm.
Not I am an addict and forever an addict, but that's that pendulum of addiction and the identification with an addict. Okay, or the other one too, that aliens are going to save us. Okay, that's another pendulum that a lot of people get on, and the more people that get on it, the more they believe it. And so that's another thing. So I'm making ridiculous examples only to illustrate the ridiculousness of hopping on to a belief structure. Wokeism is another belief structure that people who are woke,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a pendulum there, that they believe this, that, and the other thing, and everybody else who isn't woke, we hate them. That's
Mm-hmm.
just not, it's not loving. It's not loving. Don't get on that pendulum. It's not a good one. It creates more divide and conquer. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a way to get on certain pendulums
Mm-hmm.
that can serve you by you utilizing the energy momentum to
Mm-hmm.
get to another one and hop onto another pendulum. So
Okay.
it's like swinging from one reality to the next.
Next.
And I utilize that quite a lot. I do it a lot with social media.
Mm-hmm.
I have a YouTube channel. I don't like a lot of what goes on YouTube and on social media, but I utilize it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the YouTube. I'll get on the pendulum of the Facebook. I'll
Mm-hmm.
get on the pendulum of Instagram, although I'm not using Instagram that much anymore. Instagram is more a placeholder. I'll get on the pendulum of Brainz Magazine. Brainz Magazine has been actually very, very good in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, catapulting my work in front of a different audience that wouldn't normally find me. You
Mm-hmm.
found me that way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So these are advantages that we can utilize rather than having a judgment, because I know a lot of people judge. They judge Facebook, they judge YouTube. I had a woman friend just get in my face about Brainz Magazine, just said, well, you're paying to play. And I'm going, okay. For me, it's a very small investment
Hmm.
to my work.
Hmm.
So I don't see it that way, but that's her.
Hmm.
That's her. She doesn't see the advantage of the platform. And that's going to happen. People are not going to see things your way, and that's
Hmm.
fine. She needs to do things the way she needs to do things that are right for her. So there is no right or wrong, but we have to understand our values.
Hmm.
I think one of the things that we have to ask ourselves of in terms of intention and manifestation, like wanting more money or wanting this, wanting that, wanting the perfect man or the perfect woman, the perfect relationship, is that we have to ask ourselves a question: how do we imagine ourselves?
Hmm.
What are our values? Because the way we see ourselves, and this includes the way we dress, the way we have our hair, the environment that we live in, the car that we drive, our
Hmm.
values, those
Hmm.
have to be very, very clear, because these are all categories of what it is that we want to materialize.
Yeah.
So it's really aligning with what it is that we want and why we want it.
Hmm.
And being clear, and the clearer that we are on the what and the why, the easier it will be to materialize. And it's a practice.
Okay.
It's not a one-off kind of thing. And one of the beauties of our minds, we can change our mind. you
Hmm.
know so I have when I work with people in terms of reality transurfing, materialization, I have people make categories of their lives, and I tell them, go to town, do a journaling exercise where you write down the details of how you see your life going in each category. And
Hmm.
I think that is important, because then we can get really clear on the what and the why. And quite
Hmm.
often the why is associated with how we feel. And we
Hmm.
all want to feel good. There's enough in the matrix world to have us feeling bad about ourselves. Enough of that. We have enough.
Hmm.
And we can change things. And I always say, the world is the matrix. The world is not the planet. The
Hmm.
planet is the true quantum field creation field universe. And that quantum field creation field universe, those have the sectors of reality where we want to materialize our lives in.
Hmm.
And it's fun. And I think that's the important thing, is to have fun with it and play with it.
Hmm. So actually, the meeting is gonna end within a minute. Would you
Okay.
mind joining the meet once again? Because your words are really, really amazing. I just don't want to miss that.
Say that again.
No, I was telling like the meeting is gonna end in a minute. So,
Okay.
would you like to join the meet once again? I'll send a
Oh,
new link
sure. Sure.
because I
Okay,
don't
we'll
want to miss
continue.
your words.
All
Those are
right.
really amazing.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Cool.
I'll send the link through the mail.
Okay. All right.
Shall I
See you in a
end
bit.
this meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. 1 second.
All right.